Hi everyone, this is Emma for the kitchen, and today I'm going to show you how to knead bread. So I've already mixed together my bread dough. This is just a simple flour, water, yeast dough, nothing too complicated here. Already mixed it together, and the first thing I'm going to do is sprinkle the surface of my counter here with just a little bit of flour. This is just hopefully to prevent it from sticking too much at the beginning. Now I'm going to dump my dough out onto the counter, and I'm just using my hands to get into, you can kind of see here, to get in there. It's all nice and sticky and gooey. Scraping up the little bits from the bowl. But we also don't need to be too fussy. Alright. I'm going to sprinkle a little more flour over the top. When you first start out kneading, it's okay to use, you don't have to be too worried about how much flour you're actually adding. It's towards the end, once you're nearly done kneading, that you want to be a little more careful. So I'm just kneading it a few times to kind of get it going. Right now it's pretty loose. You can just see how it just sags and falls apart in your hands. And when you're done kneading, it'll hold in a nice tight ball. Alright, so when you're kneading, what you really want to be doing is stretching it out more. That you're not pressing down, you're stretching out. Because you want to take these gluten strands that are all starting to line up nicely here and just make them as long and elastic and rubber band-like as possible. So you just fold it and then press and roll. Add a little more flour if it's acting like bubble gum and sticking to your fingers like mine is. And just keep on going like that for a while. Now if you've got really big hands, you can do this with just one hand. That's how the pros with the big hands do it. But I've got little hands, so I use two hands. What's also really handy to have is one of these guys, which is a bench scraper, pastry scraper. They come under a lot of names, but it's essentially just a flat, blunt, this is totally blunt blade. And you just scrape it against the counter and it helps loosen it up. And then you can put some more flour underneath there. It's really handy to have in the first couple of minutes of kneading. Here, I'll slow it down to slow-mo so you can really see what I'm doing. There's your ball, and I'm just taking the heels of my hands and pushing out. And I can feel it as I'm pushing, I can feel it rolling under the heels. And then I turn it, fold it in half. This guy's still really sticky, so I'm continuing to just make sure it's nice and coated with flour. Roll it, turn it, fold it. And as I fold it, I'm actually stretching it a little bit too. It's all about stretching it and getting those gluten strands to line up nice and tight. And you can see already that it's starting to become much more tight of a ball. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. And this usually, when you're doing it by hand, it takes about maybe 10 to 15 minutes. It's really, really hard to over-knead dough when you're going by hand. And a mixer is kind of a different story because it goes so fast and is so powerful. But by hand, you'll get tired way before it's over-kneaded. So it might look like I've been adding a lot of flour while I've been kneading, but it actually hasn't been that much. It's only been about maybe half a cup, maybe a little bit more. So we're totally good. And we're starting to get there. I'm starting to add a lot less flour. Now I'm kneading it, I'm rolling it a couple extra times in between the folds. Still a little bit sticky, but I'm going to try to bring in some of this flour that's gotten around the edges here. And this just gets easier with practice. I've been doing this for, gosh, I don't know, a good number of years. And the way this feels really comfortable to me, but I've seen other bakers do it very, not completely differently, but like I said, with one hand or just a different technique. But just keep in mind that you want to lengthen the gluten strands and just keep everything very elastic. And you'll figure out your own method that feels good to you. And don't be afraid to really, this can be your workout. Just put your whole body into it. Okay, so we are about halfway through kneading now, which I've been timing it, but also you can just tell that the bread is starting to kind of come together and just feel it's a lot more tight and silky on the top. And it's at this point that you kind of want to stop adding in a whole lot of flour. If it's super sticky, don't fret about it too much. But if you start adding in, say, another half cup of flour at this point, your bread will just end up kind of dense and dry. Like there won't be enough water to absorb it all. So that's the only thing to be careful of. And as you can see, my hands have this nice coat of flour gluteny residue on them. It's good for the skin. Okay, so we've time elapsed and we're pretty much done kneading here. I'm just going to test it, give it a last turn, and then make it into a nice ball. It holds in a ball. It's not oozing and falling all over the place like it did at the beginning, so that's a good sign. I'm also going to give it a nice poke, and it should spring right back. Here, we'll do it again over here. Yep, it's springing back. And if you want, we can take a pinch off and do, I don't think I got a good enough pinch, and do the window pane test. You take this gooey blob and stretch it out between your fingers as thin as you can. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that, but it's kind of transparent. I'm trying to show it against the light there. And it's holding together pretty well. It's tearing a little at the edges. I could probably knead it for a couple more minutes, but I'm a little tired, so I think I will stop. So I'll just work those little window pane pieces back into the bulk and call it good. So at this point, I'm going to put it in an oiled bowl and let it rise.